Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here. I'm at Baxter Cycle in Marnie, Iowa, and look at this. Anybody recognize this motorcycle? This beautiful blue hot rod 2009 Kawasaki Versys 650. I used to own that bike. That used to be my bike. I traded it off for a Triumph, beautiful Triumph, but isn't that just a lovely machine? I bought this on an impulse. I came in here one day, they had it sitting there. I'd always wanted a Versys 650 and I always wanted it in blue, so I bought it in 5 minutes, and I owned it for about 2 months, and I put about 6,000 miles on it, and I just loved every mile. It was just a ball, just a ball. Just incredibly fun. This is a rider's motorcycle. You know, I'll get into that in a minute, but let me tell you about what the bike is. First off, it is a 649cc parallel twin 2-cylinder, liquid cooled, dual overhead cam, 4-valve per cylinder, fuel injected, 6-speed transmission. I'll show you that over here. Barrel of monkeys fun. It's got a 10.6 to 1 compression ratio. Cranks out, I've read anywhere from 64 to 67 horsepower, and I think it's got every bit of that, and I really think it's, I mean, it just really pulls hard. And 45, it says 45 foot-pounds of torque, and that's another kind of an interesting thing, because this machine loves to wheelie. That's one of the reasons I traded it off. So it's got plenty of low-end torque. The bike, well, let's talk about the engine. It's got a 10.5 thousand RPM red line. Most of the time when you rode this, I was riding between 4 and 65. That's normal road speed. When things got crazy, it was very easy to find yourself between 8 and 10. Very, very easy to find yourself between 8 and 10. So it's just a lovely motorcycle. When they sold it to me, it had a brand new back tire. When I traded it back off, I had they had to put a brand new, this is a Michelin Road 5 tire on the back, and another Michelin. They put a new Michelin on the front as well. Just an absolutely beautiful machine. What a handling motor. These are 17-inch tires, by the way, front and back, but just soak that in. So the whole bike, 64 horsepower, but also it has a 454-pound wet weight, I believe. So it's pretty light. It's and it feels incredibly light. Very nimble. Let's talk about the seat height. Is 33.1 inches. That's about 841 millimeters. Even though that is a relatively high seat, look how narrow this bike is. Just very narrow. I have a 30-inch inseam, and I never once felt tall on this bike. You do look for holes when you're driving, but everything about it is just makes you have a barrel of fun. Gas tank, I think it's 19 liters, which is about 5 gallons, and I love that about the bike. I think I was getting about 240 miles a gallon, or tank, I think was the, that'd be about max. So I was filling up about 160, 180 miles, every 160, 180, 200 miles at the most. So lots of range on the bike. Just a hoot fun. It says here on my notes that I got 53 miles a gallon, so that's pretty darn good. Another fun thing about this bike, let's just start on the front. Okay, upside down forks. I can't remember what size they are. It's got quite a bit of, they're 41 millimeters, there's 5.1, 5.9, I'm sorry, inches of travel. That's about 150 millimeters. These beautiful, and I mean beautiful because I've used them, amazing 300 millimeter twin disc, dual disc on the front. Just absolutely fabulous brakes on this bike. I just love the brakes on this bike. I can't read that word. Tokiko. Okay. Anyway, I love the brakes on this bike. They are just phenomenal. This thing handled cut through traffic, through everything I put it through, just did it very well. And the rear is a 220 millimeter with a single pot. The fronts are dual pot, by the way. So floating disc, floating caliper, just a gorgeous thing. I love the way they have this, the forks are upside down, so the tubes are back here. But look at these covers over the tubes to help protect them. Keep the dirt and bugs and all that stuff off of there. Just a gorgeous thing. I love these little chin fairings down here. I just like the whole thing. The whole package is just a hot rod kind of a thing, you know. Wheelbase, this is another nice thing, 55.7 inches. That's it's 1415 millimeters, which is very good. Nice, very sporty thing. And the tires are, front is a 120/70/17, and the rear is a 160/60/17. So 17's front and back. What does that mean? That means handling. And this bike, it would change lanes or move left, right, just in a thought, just in a whim. Just a gorgeous thing. So a little more about the bike. Styling. It's got this gull wing, they call it, rear fork. It's asymmetrical. It's different from side to side. The monoshock is offset. The adjustment is easily. I was able to adjust this very easily. You know, it's right there. I mean, you can see it right there. It's the only adjustment on the suspension, the monoshock. I guess there is a little bit of adjustment here on the one fork, on the front fork, but I never messed with that. Just a beautiful bike. I love the muffler down here, hidden below it. Doesn't interfere with your bags, your passenger, you know, out of the way. The bike has very good sound. It's just a beautiful thing. I love that kind of a bullet-shaped muffler on it. The styling on this is kind of controversial. You know, it's got this is the fuel tank. It kind of jets out here. These plastic pieces kind of make the front of the bike. You know, it's got this kind of dragonfly look. I think that's what I called it. My grandson and I were talking about that. One of the neat things about these little side covers is on this bike, your legs tuck in here, so your legs actually stay out of the slipstream pretty well, and you're tucked in really nicely. Very good for like rains. I had this bike in the rain a few times. You know, it's a little tiny fairing, but it actually went over my head very well. My hands got wet. If I would have kept this bike, I would have got covers for the hands. And your knees stayed warm, or you stayed warm. They stayed dry because of the you know, this airflow thing here. But just a gorgeous thing. Look at this adjustable clutch lever, adjustable brake lever. And I did adjust them past the flash. I put these soft grips on here, which made the bike, you know, just a little bit better. I put these extenders on for the mirror to get the mirrors out a little farther, so you saw a little less of your shoulder. It's got past the flash back here, high-low, blinkers, horn, hazard button. Over here is the start and the kill switch. Something interesting about this, you know, the bike looks, like I said earlier, it looks like it's kind of crotch rockety, but the handlebars are way up in the air. You know, it's got this big extender right here, and so you sit almost upright on the bike. Your feet are back, and they're a little high. Some people say they're too high, but I didn't think that. I thought it was pretty good. I like the way it sit. It was very road warrior-y. The blinkers are set in. You know, just a nifty machine. Just a nifty thing. So riding this bike, handling when going slow was decent. Well, let's start with the garage. Pushing it around your garage. It is a tall bike, so you feel that when you're pushing it around the garage. You have to pay a little attention, but it does have a pretty low center of gravity. 0 to 5 or 10 miles an hour, not bad. You do have to pay attention, but it's not terrible or anything. It's actually pretty good. 5 to 20 miles an hour, 5 to 40 miles, 50 miles an hour, it's pretty darn good. I thought it handled very well at those speeds. Now anything over that, it just handled like a dream. And it seemed like the faster you went, the better it handled. I was very entertained with this motorcycle. The places where this motorcycle shined was curvy roads. Back through the Lust Hills of Iowa, I just tore up the roads with this thing. Another place where this really stood out, and I blame the suspension for this, is city driving. I'd go to Omaha or Des Moines with this thing, and you sit high enough that you're over the traffic. You can see very well. The bike has incredibly nimble handling. It just, you really felt like you had good control, and it just was a phenomenal piece of sport motorcycle. I know it's not a sport bike, it's a Versys, but it handled like a sport. You know, those small tires, the excellent brakes, the good suspension. The suspension is very well balanced. I'm about a 200-pound guy with my boots on, and I felt like this thing was just a dream to ride. I just loved it. And there's little bar weights on the end, they were kind of cool. Let's look at the dash real quick while I got you all here. Very minimalistic dash, you know, 10.5 for the red line, neutral light, oil light, there's a high-low light, digital fuel gauge up here. The odometer, this one's got 13,000. I must have bought it with 6 or 7 when I got it. You can, you know, trip A, trip B, clock in here. I mounted a clock somewhere on here, separate. And then of course the odometer. This one has 13,000 miles on it. And when I got the bike, Baxter's had just given it an oil change and synthetic oil. They just put new tires on it when I got it. They put new tires on it again. It's got a brand new chain and sprockets. At least it did when I got it 5,000 or 6,000 miles ago. Just a phenomenal piece of work. I really enjoyed this bike. It was one of the funnest motorcycles I've ever had. One of the things that got me about it is I think it would make a great all-around motorcycle, kind of a, if you put knobbies on it, or not knobbies, but you know, an on-off tire, you would have a bike I think that would handle very well in the dirt. It's got incredible ground clearance. I think it's something like 6.5 or 7 inches. You know, that's because of the tall suspension. I bet it's 5 or 6 inches. Let's say it's 6 inches of ground clearance. It was very comfortable overall. A little buzzy at the hand grips, but you know, they say the first generation of these were. The latter years, I think this is 09, I think the 10s and on, they had a rubber mount engine, the same engine but with rubber mounts. But just look at that thing. So Baxter's, like I said, they've got this here at Baxter's Baxter Cycle in Marnia, Iowa. Check it out on their website, baxtercycle.com. And like I said, they put new tires on the bike, front and rear. Michelin Road 5 on the back. Not sure what the front one is. I know it's a Michelin. My eyesight doesn't read that well on black, but they changed the oil in it again. They've cleaned it all up. Those of you that follow me know that I'm not very good about cleaning my motorcycles. But with 13,000 miles, this thing is a real value, I would think. Just a whole hoot of fun to ride. Check that hot rod out, huh? Anyway, if you're interested in something like that, give these guys at Baxter Cycle a call. Get on their website, baxtercycle.com. Tell them Fuzzy Biker sent you. Now you need to get out there and ride. Wahoo!